big fan of the show. Appreciate Brian Murphy to my left, making sure everything's smooth, crispy, buttery. James Martin is systematically ruining the game of basketball. The most overrated player in the Chicago Bears with a championship defense. And I'm sure Dancing with the Stars is happy to have Antonio back. If you thought you were going to get Zion, that's your bad.
Now listening to Open Season, your host, Durant.
Welcome. It is the Open Season Show. I'm your host, Billy Allen, and we got Frankie Bradica here as always. We got a lot on the table this week. The NFL just keeps delivering. The Cincinnati Bengals got their first win, and the Miami Dolphins are undefeated, the only team in the NFL to be undefeated right now. They beat the Bills. The Patriots, not looking so good. Mac Jones with an injury, and sounds like him and the Pats medical staff are already going back and forth a little bit. We had a whole bunch of injuries this week. Mac Jones, Dalvin Cook, David Montgomery, maybe Zach Wilson will be coming back soon, maybe Dak Prescott. We'll talk about all those as well. Obviously, Aaron Judge is going for the home run record. It's been like 4 days without a home run. I mean, that guy stinks. So we'll be talking about all that. But to start out, Frankie, Mac Jones with the injury this week, them falling to the Ravens in a game where, you know, it's probably a little bit more competitive than what a lot of people were thinking about. I mean, the Patriots were in that game towards the end, but, you know, Mac Jones, we've had 3 games so far. Mac Jones has had X-rays after 2 of them, Frank. He's got more X-rays than the Patriots do wins. You know, tell me what you think about your takeaways this weekend, your takeaways on the Mac injury as well. You know, what are you thinking about the Patriots as they sit here 1-2, you know, coming up on week 4 with Mac Jones not going to be under center?
So I watched the Patriots from, call it 06 to 14, about 8 years, not be able to get off the field on third down. I've seen mishaps from the Patriots. I watched them not be able to understand the Wildcat and get bowled over. I watched Peyton Hillis and the Browns beat us 38 to 14, but very seldom have we looked stupid in the last 21 years. The idea that we, who have always placed an overemphasis on the scrambling quarterback and how to stop that, the mush zones, the soft press releases to keep your zone integrity and gap integrity. It's just stunning to me that we looked dumb. I mean, from your couch, you know, don't let Lamar run and double Mark Andrews. If they beat us on the outside, they beat us on the outside. And with Rashard Bateman and Duvernay developing, maybe they just can do that now. But we didn't make them do it. We allowed Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson to beat us, which is, even to a novice, the one thing you can't do when you're playing this team. I just thought it was poor form. I thought it was disappointing. I don't know what you want from me. This was bad, and it wasn't competitive. I know the score was misleading until the end, but they were in control the entire game. The Ravens dominated the game script of this game.
I guess I just meant, I feel like if you had said the Pats had a chance to win that game at the end.
I don't think we did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I think, I mean, Mark Andrews is an absolute monster. I mean, so, but also, you know, I just feel like it seems like Mac Jones is getting a little bit upset. I mean, you've heard kind of talks about it throughout, like, the regular season, or sorry, you heard about it over the summer. Maybe he wasn't so thrilled with the quote unquote Patriots experience. You know, but now you've got it where it seems like the Pats want him to come back in like 4 weeks. He's already looking to do the, you know, he's looking to get a second opinion. And you know how this stuff typically works out. Gronk, you want a second opinion. Ted Johnson, you want a second opinion. The Patriots going to make you feel real stupid for that, right? And I think Mac Jones is looking at it saying, hey, I'm coming in a year 2 here. I took the chub off. You know, I got a little bit chiseled. I, you know, was ready to have a good year. You switch up my offensive coordinator on me. You bring in some underexperienced as coaches. I really don't have anyone to throw to. I'm getting X-rays after every single game here, and now you want me to come back in 4 weeks instead of 8. And it's just like, you want me to hurry back to get back to this situation. I just feel like it's interesting on both sides. One, how Mac Jones can kind of be questioning Belichick 20 games into his career, and just kind of how they could have ended up at this point. It seems quick that they ended up in this spot right here where there's a disagreement. I mean, on both sides.
Well, part of it is Mac Jones doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? Like, I would say as a rookie, he was one of the more protected rookie quarterbacks. I would say he performed the best of his class his rookie year, largely due to how incubated and insulated he was and how little he was asked to do in this organization. So I understand his frustration schematically, that he doesn't think the coaches are really capable of teaching him the new scheme and all that. That makes total sense. And if he wants to be upset 20 games in, that makes sense. He's not upset with Bill outside of the decision making. He might think Bill can do it, but he might think Joe Judge and Matt Patricia can't. So I'm with that. As far as a second opinion goes, I think that's a lot more common in modern sports. I think with so many different solutions nowadays, people are always going to get a second and third opinion. I think it's much different than the Ted Johnson days. I just do. They disagreed with Jimmy Garoppolo, and yes, it hurt the coaching staff chemistry and it made his teammates look at him differently. But they didn't exile him or make him look bad or anything like that. It's disappointing, and I'm not surprised by this. The team should want him back earlier. He, as a younger athlete, should be taking his time. None of this was surprising to me.
No, I agree, but I just feel like it kind of highlights when Tom Brady was a rookie and coming. I mean, Tom Brady was a 6th-round pick. I mean, Tom Brady would have done anything to just have a chance to play on this team, right? When he first came in, and it was even for like 10 years, he kind of carried himself as an undrafted rookie. And this is Belichick getting a 1st-round pick where in a different age, and just feels like, it's like if you can't get Mac Jones to buy into doing whatever it is, I mean, it's obviously not going to be. It's like, unless you just keep drafting, like if you keep taking on undrafted guys, they're going to do whatever it takes, to make the team or whatever. But if you're getting quality players, they're not just going to completely sacrifice themselves for Bill. You know what I mean? I feel like where that might have happened in the early 2000s, players aren't willing to do the same things to play for the Patriots, to come to the Patriots, etc.
Nor should they be.
Yeah, no, I agree. But it just kind of shows how, years ago you could get people to kind of do anything to play for the Pats. It's like, hey.
But here's the thing with a long, sustained run of excellence and success. It's been a full generation. The Patriots were good for 22 years. Like, by definition, there's a paradigm shift happening. Look at just our division. Don't even take the whole NFL into perspective. Just our division. The Bills are now us. They're going to be good for a long time. The Dolphins are now the Bills and the Dolphins. You know what I mean? And we are the Jets. We're not even 3rd place anymore. We are the Jets, and that's okay. We've been very lucky. We've been very successful, and that's okay. But there was a time where we couldn't win anything. We sent 2 people to the Hall of Fame in the 80s. Hannah and Mike Haynes both were a part of the 85 Bears shellacking in the Super Bowl. Proud to get there. Embarrassed once we were there.
Yeah, what's your point on that, though?
That we need to, as Boston fans, be very, very welcoming to the level of mediocrity we're about to face. Mookie Wilson being the cause behind the Bill Buckner error, all of it. Like, we've been very lucky for probably 30 years here. The Bruins.
So now it's coming to roost, you're saying?
The Bruins are at the end. The Pats have already been bad. The Celtics just had a scandal. The Red Sox are bad. This is something we're going to deal with for decades. Get used to it. Saddle up, buddy.
Well, boy, doesn't that make you excited to strap in and watch Boston sports? Mr. Sunshine, Frankie Bradica. Yeah, so I mean, let's talk about that. You've in the AFC East, you obviously have the Bills and Dolphins, who definitely look better than the Patriots at this point. Obviously, you have the Bills that have been the cream of this division for the last couple of years, but the Dolphins kind of steadily making moves to be on top. And finally the Dolphins, they get the win over the Bills this weekend. They survived the butt punt. That play was just absolutely incredible. But the Dolphins, beating the Bills and kind of taking a step over the Patriots. Really, it's it's really not what you want to see. And I guess for the Dolphins, how sustainable do you think this is, Frank? They start out 3-0. How do you see them finishing this year? I mean, how do you see things going for Tua? And do you think Tua is going to be the quarterback of the future over there?
Everything looks better left-handed. So I love seeing what Tua can do. But listen, they're the best team in the NFL right now. I didn't mean to be depressing. I want to be honest. Look, for the record, we were a good fan base when we were losers. All right. Aaron Boone ruined my childhood for about 6 years. We were very devoted and very passionate before we were winners. I would admire the younger generation, and it would behoove them to be ready for a period of less success. But my bigger point is, as far as the Dolphins go, they're the best team in the NFL right now. They just beat the Bills, who were previously the best team in the NFL. I want to buy in as much. Relax. I want to buy in as much as I can. However, ask me in 8 weeks. I don't think they're the best team in the NFL for real. But look, when you're the last undefeated team and you just beat Vegas's favorite to win the Super Bowl, you should be looked at as the best team in the league as it stands right now.
I got to tell you this too. I am so rooting for a guy like Mike McDaniels, right? It's like a guy who has this more modern philosophy. He can actually be like jovial and joking with the media and still see. It's like he's kind of everything that a guy like Belichick tries to show you that you can't be, right? I mean, I am so rooting for someone. It's kind of like how when Brady and Gronk left, they kind of showed you that you don't have to be and won that Super Bowl. They showed you don't have to not have any type of fun. You don't have to, completely be buttoned up. What are you shaking your head to? They left and they won their way. And what the Dolphins are doing is showing that there's a way to win without being a complete stiff, without making it so that nobody has fun. I like what McDaniels is doing, getting innovative and stretching things out, like making it more of a horizontal game over there to get it into Tua's hands. I just feel like this is the type of guy you're rooting for, when you're watching coaches, right?
Sneaky good pickup, Mike McDaniels. Getting rid of successful good coach Brian Flores for anybody, risky decision. You know what I mean? Like, risky decision. But I think it was the right decision. I like Mike McDaniels. And you said he could be jovial in the media. That's not what he's been. He's been a giant goofball. He's been a freaking weirdo, but it's very endearing.
Just someone who actually talks to them, answers questions, doesn't make them feel stupid is really...
He's been very endearing. He's been a very good baby face. He's very likable. Sneaky good pickup. If you're going to replace successful head coach, Super Bowl, let me rephrase. Playoff head coach Brian Flores, aren't you happy Mike McDaniels looks this good with this team? I'm happy with what he's doing. But he didn't reinvent the wheel. The Dolphins and their restructuring and they're becoming good has been 5-6 years in the making. Like, that started with Brian Flores and Minka Fitzpatrick. And then that moved over to Brian Flores trading Minka and having just a kind of success. And that's evolved. And I do think Mike McDaniels was the right choice. But that's not like a one-year thing. That didn't happen overnight. They've been slowly getting better. You said they stepped over the Patriots by beating the Bills. They stepped over the Patriots 2 years ago.
I don't think a lot of people necessarily had them straight over the going into this year. I think there were still just questions if they were going to take that step. Like, they were a more talented team than the Pats, but were they going to execute, I guess, is where I was where I would have been on that one. I didn't think it was guaranteed that they'd be ahead of the Pats. I thought that they would be, and I thought they were the more talented club, but it's just like they're still the Dolphins. So I think to just see them executing on that is a little bit different. But I agree with you. It did all start with, I wasn't trying to say that it was overnight. Flores did turn around that organization through some of those drafts. I mean, they completely turned that roster in like 2-3 years. They basically, like, no one who was on that roster like 3-4 years ago was on that roster like in a 2-3 year period after that. So they completely turned that over, had a lot of draft picks. And I mean, even that defense has a lot of Patriots on it. It's got what, like a Landon Robert. I mean, every time I watch, I feel like there's 3-4 Patriots on that defense too. So, yeah, obviously they've done a good job. It wasn't overnight, but they've been making the right moves to, like, you got to be a fan of what the Dolphins are doing. They go out, they spend on Tyreek. They surround their quarterback with weapons. Note to Patriots, this is something you typically want to do when you have a young pass thrower.
It's not even when you have a young pass thrower. You need to surround your quarterback with talent forevermore. It's a different league. Like in basketball about 15, 12 years ago, it became good D, better O. No matter what you do physically, defensively, schematically, there are just offensive players nowadays that are so good, it doesn't matter. Steph Curry can hit from 40. Kevin Durant is 7 feet tall and plays like a guard. And in the NFL, there's 30 elite wide receivers. And I know that by the definition of elite, there's still only 5 like there's always been. But the rest of the crop is so much better. Yes, the cream still rises. Oh yeah, but the rest of the pot is still so much thicker and better than it's ever been. I mean, where's DK Metcalf in the best receivers in the league? 15, 16? Where in every other generation he'd be a top 5 receiver, hands down, no questions asked. It's just a different league. Like the idea of somebody's going to piss down their leg and give you a win is over. Teams are going to score. Like the traditional 12-14 defensive battle is now 24-26. And are the Patriots willing to adapt? And I don't think so.
Yeah, and just another note from that game before we turn the page. This has really been the year of guys betting on themselves and winning. You've seen it in baseball. Hold on. You've seen it in baseball with Aaron Judge. He turned down like a $235 million contract, then hit 60 home runs. He's probably going to get a $500 million contract now. Lamar Jackson turns down the $250 million contract. Now he's got 10 passing touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's already got like 250 rushing yards. I mean, I'd say he's definitely on pace to get paid really, really well. Do you think it's going to be the Ravens who do it? I feel like I think they're going to franchise him.
For the Ravens to not acknowledge that they were a bad season, a half a bad season away from firing Harbaugh before they drafted Lamar Jackson is just silly. I mean, it's just the arrogance of every organization ever that deals with pro sports. I'm not convinced it's the Ravens. It should be the Ravens. And when you talk about Aaron Judge, that's different because he's at the end. No matter what, if he breaks his elbow right now, that dude's probably still getting 350, 400 million. I mean, it's been 3 games. I like Lamar, and 10-2 is a great ratio. Very good quarterback rating, 250 plus rushing yards. He's been electric. He's been what we think he is, what he's billed as, what he's advertised as. But it's 3 games in. So as far as it being the year of people who bet on themselves, let's get 12, 13 games in before we're convinced Lamar made the right decision. And I'm glad he bet on himself. I love athletes betting on themselves. But 3 games in, I'm not willing to say he made the right decision yet.
Yeah. And Josh just says Hurts or Lamar for 3-week MVP. Hurts. I love that he brought that up because I was looking to go to Hurts. I mean, Frank, I feel like we just got to – why don't we do like our weekly check-in with you and where you're standing on Hurts? I mean, you couldn't have been more against Hurts, and as far as like he was not a passer, he was not going to figure it out. They're going to move on, and now he's throwing for like 330 yards and 3 touchdowns. So is that just a fluke for him as well, or?
So here's what I've got, and it flies in the face of what I think he is. But I will give it to you because I'm nothing if not objective. Jalen Hurts.
Oh, of course.
This year, 22 of 35, 340 yards, 3 touchdowns, 97 QBR on passes in tight windows. He has been one of the best tough ball throwers in the NFL, and that's been my gripe with him. Much like Tyrod Taylor, Vince Young, I like Jalen Hurts' makeup. Think he's a winner. He's a Pied Piper type. When he's on a team, they revolve around him. Hey, look, Tebow was like that too. I have a respect for intangibles. I'm not blind. I did not think he could make tight window throws. I did not think he could play from behind. I did not think he was a complete quarterback. And with every week, he's proving me wrong. I don't know that he'll finish second in the league, which is where those numbers that I just gave you have him at. Agreed. Well, no. Here's what I would say to his defense in the face of even that statement. I would say having A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith doesn't necessarily help you in tight windows. It helps you in broader windows. Those guys are more wide open having each other. They don't necessarily help you in tight windows. He's still making those throws.
Did somebody give the owner from or the GM from the Titans a lobotomy? Like I still cannot understand how you just part ways with AJ Brown, who's 25. He's made the Pro Bowl a couple times. I mean, he is everything you could want in a receiver. And you see what happens to a guy like Jalen Hurts when you pair him up. I just don't see how, if you're an NFL organization at any stage of your career, how can you not use an AJ Brown? Like, say you're rebuilding. You look at the Seattle. They're completely in the middle of a rebuild. They signed DK Metcalf. I'd rather have AJ Brown in a heartbeat over DK Metcalf. I can't understand for the life of me, and I would be so livid if I was Vrabel that you just gave away AJ Brown.
I like Treylon Burks. He's a very good prospect. He's going to be a very good receiver. I think this year was littered with wide receiver twos. A lot of depth, a lot of very, very good players who may never be elite. I don't know why they got rid of A.J. Brown, but as an NFL team, look, you got Malik Willis on a, 4 more years based on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
They have plenty of money to spend after this.
Are you hoping for much out of Malik Willis?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
But I was holding my breath for Jalen Hurts. So I'll take Malik Willis, especially if they are able to surround him with talent. You look at receivers that'll be up, their contracts will be up soon. I just think they'll have the opportunity to spend money and surround him with talent.
Now, probably maybe my favorite game of the week or outcome of the week maybe is the Jacksonville game. Jacksonville beating the Chargers 38-10. What a difference a year makes for Trevor Lawrence. This is the type of jump that you were hoping somebody like Mac Jones was going to take. Trevor Lawrence looks like the guy that he was at Clemson. And you see him pairing up with Zay Jones. I mean, they're making one of the better wide receiver quarterback combos. It's just crazy when you help a guy like get out of their way. I just think Urban Meyer was such a complete distraction and clown. Like all you do is you just get rid of some of that, and you see the type of success that somebody like Trevor Lawrence can have. Which I've been a huge fan of Trevor Lawrence. I think people that thought that Mac Jones was better than him after 1 year, I just thought that was such ludicrous. So I love to see what Trevor Lawrence is doing so far.
I've always thought Trevor Lawrence was going to be a 8 to 15 quarterback, which hoorah, sparklers, good for him. The best quarterback prospect since John Elway, no. The best quarterback prospect since Peyton Manning, no. Best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck, no. Best quarterback prospect since Dan Marino, no. The guy's not that good. He's got all.
Who's the best prospect since Andrew Luck?
Who's the best prospect since Andrew Luck? Herbert. Probably Herbert, just based on size. But that's
okay. But if you had 2-3 more guesses, I'm sure Trevor Lawrence would show up on that list.
Sure, but I meant in terms of the magnitude. He wasn't the best prospect since these guys, and he was at a 94 and they were at a 98. No, he was up there in pre-draft rankings with these guys, grading out with Elway, grading out with some of these guys that he is not. Look, I've liked Trevor Lawrence from a fantasy perspective. I've liked him from a physical perspective. The guy does not have leadership intangibles. The guy does not have elite durability. The guy, look, I love this outcome because the Chargers, pretty much the entirety of my lifetime, have been the kings of underachieving with super talent. I mean, whether it's the Sean Merriman era with Sean Phillips and those boys, Antonio Cromartie, Quentin Jammer, those boys, LT, Phil Rivers, or this one. You got Mack, you got Bosa, all right, you got Derwin James, Kenneth Murray, you got Justin Herbert, you got Eckler, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. This team's loaded. It's been loaded for the better part of 20 years. They're bad. And for the record, that motivational speech, I was trying to avoid it. I was trying to not take low-hanging fruit. But yes, the guy's got no intangibles. He's got no leadership to speak of.
I got to say, I do hate when your quarterback can't be a leader. Like, for as good as Kyler Murray is, he's not a leader at all either. Very individualistic approach. I don't think anyone really takes him seriously as a leader. I mean, sure, he's talented. But, like, your quarterback needs to be a leader. It's honestly surprising how your quarterback could not be a leader, just the control that they have to have over the offense. I mean, but do you think that's going to hurt? It seems like you think that might hurt him.
I don't think a quarterback needs to be a leader per se. I think the quarterback needs to be an extension of the coaching staff in the front office. Like, I don't think Ryan Tannehill is a leader, right? But I do think that whatever Mike Vrabel wants for the offense, Ryan Tannehill subsequently wants for his offense. So if he can be an extension of the coaching staff, that's what I think the role is. I don't think you don't have to be Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. I mean, we've been spoiled, but most guys are Aaron Rodgers. Most guys just don't have this. And if you can lead by example, be the first one in, the last one out, and be an extension of the front office, you'll be fine, even if you're not a quote-unquote leader.
Now you talk about Aaron Rodgers, obviously the game between the Bucs and Green Bay this weekend. You had mentioned in the pre-show, our pre-show call, you thought that Brady didn't have any touchdowns, and he does have, a touchdown in each game. But is the Brady ship sinking? Is Brady coming back down to earth to some degree? Is this going to be the year that distractions take him down, or are you impressed that they're 2-1 in this? What's your read so far on Brady, Tampa Bay? Obviously playing without a lot of their receiving weapons.
They've got a top 5 defense, and I believe a top 1 rushing defense. They've been good. They'll be good. They'll win 11, 12 games. They're in a crappy division. Brady has been pedestrian, and you just wonder. Like, I'm not Max Kellerman, and I didn't think he was going to ever fall off a cliff. But full disclosure, I also didn't think he'd be an NFL quarterback at 45 years old.
You didn't?
You said he's getting a touchdown in every game. Yes, and let's be more articulate. He has a touchdown in every game. One, solo, uno. He's got 3 touchdowns in 3 games. Not exactly Tom Brady numbers. And I'm not saying that the cliff is there, but if it's ever coming, isn't it coming now with the distractions in the home life, with missing his top 3 weapons for the first quarter of the season? I mean, isn't this what it is?
I just feel like if Brady can still be 2-1 at this point, still be keeping the ship afloat.
I mean, he's good. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl with his brain. And I always give him more respect than other people because checking into runs, checking out of runs, play actions, those are important. You can't understress that. However, he was a shell of himself.
So what you're saying, you respect Manning's ring at the end more than you respect Brady's?
I'm saying
because he was bad.
At the end, they were dragging Brock Osweiler. They were complimentary to Peyton. Right now, it seems like the Bucs are dragging Tom, which has almost never been the case in his entire career.
Do you really feel like Tampa is dragging Tom?
Right now, yes. But I also said right now the Dolphins are the best team in the league. I enjoy hyperbole. I enjoy being 3 weeks in and evaluating the season as it stands 3 weeks in. We're not talking about projections. We're not talking about our predictions. 3 weeks in, Tom's been pedestrian. That team's been carrying him, and the Dolphins have been the best team in the league.
We do have a show to do today. That is true.
We got a show to do today.
All right. So, I mean, one thing I feel bad about is the Giants losing Sterling Shepard to this ACL injury. We talked a little bit about, I mean, can Sterling Shepard get some of the worst injury breaks? He's just coming off the Achilles. I think he tore his ACL a few years ago. And the Giants were off to a good start. They lose that humbling game against the Cowboys, the Cooper Rush. I was kind of liking what the Giants are doing. I just feel bad for a guy like Sterling Shepard. That guy just can't get a good break. But you got to feel encouraged, I guess, with how the Giants have started out. I mean, obviously a tough loss to the Cowboys the other night.
You see, this could mean 4 horsemen. All right. Very symbolic gesture, even biblical if you go all the way back. But realistically, what I mean is the Giants have spent high draft capital and or money on 4+ receivers in the last 3 years. When you look at Galladay, Tony, Robinson, Slayton, Shepard, the bad luck, because here's what I think. I think they hit on all of them. I think Shepard should be a good receiver. I think Slayton should be a good receiver. Heck, for what it's worth, I think Evan Ingram, despite not knowing how to play football like Janu Smith, is athletic enough to be a complementary football weapon.
What in God's name happened to Galladay? I mean, that guy was a stud on Detroit.
He was never a stud is the issue. Matt Stafford was the stud. He was a big body receiver like Plaxico who had a quarterback like Eli. That is it. That is all. He was never that good. The idea that he came 5 years after Megatron or whatever it was, where everybody said Minitron, is why he got paid. Kenny Galladay was never that good.
Tackle last night for the Giants, man, the worst game.
No, he's not wrong. That offensive line was bad last night. Now, it wasn't Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas had a better game. I want to say it was the right tackle or right guard. But I mean, it's not like the Cowboys line had a good game either. Cowboys center was pretty much benched. Their left guard was benched for Jason Peters, who's one of the oldest practice squad players I've ever seen in my entire life. I mean, I don't know what the rules are anymore for practice squad. The idea that an 8-time Pro Bowler or 8-time All-Pro was on your practice squad is just silly to me. But I don't think either team had a good offensive line performance.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just shocked at how bad Galladay is, honestly. Like, getting back to that.
Shouldn't be shocking. But where's
a goose egg this week? A goose egg this week with a drop. I mean, it's just like he is completely missing in action. And I guess you're just wondering what they're going to do at wide receiver moving forward. You've got Sterling Shepard with his season over. You've got Kadarius Toney with the hamstring injury. Maybe you move Darius Slayton in and he starts to catch some more balls. But like, as you said, I mean, he hasn't been living up to expectations either. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick or something, so it's not like he had the biggest expectations, but he was pretty good his first couple of years.
They've not been putting him in positions to succeed. That's the problem with the Giants. They keep adding and adding and adding. Nobody stays healthy. And with the quarterback and scheme they have, the lack of offensive cohesion and consistency. I mean, how many offensive coordinators have the Giants have in the last 5 years? 4?
It's like a biannual thing for them, yeah.
So that's my point. I mean, how good are they supposed to be? And again, Kenny Galladay it's not that he's some bust. He's a big body receiver who's older now. That's what he always was. He was never what people thought he was. That's the problem.
Let's talk about somebody who has been a bust. That's the offense for the Broncos. That game this weekend, 11-10 over San Francisco. That was an absolute stinker. A battle of defenses. And the Broncos, for all that they did with offense, they've got great receivers. They have decent running backs. They bring in Russell Wilson. If you told me that defense was going to be their identity this year, yeah, I would have been completely shocked. I mean, I don't get why they're having such trouble getting the offense going. I mean, I just feel like Wilson really looks out of sorts.
The Denver Broncos have been bad. And I don't know what type of person is a Jimmy Garoppolo fan. I don't know what would constitute being a Jimmy G fan. But if you are a Jimmy G fan, boy did Sunday look bad for you. I mean, this guy is a guy who you're going to claim as a winner and realistically can't win a game where the team can't score more than 11 points. I just don't know where all the Jimmy G love came from. And no, I'm just kidding. Love Jimmy G, and I'm upset he lost this game. This is the microcosm, the epitome of a type of game that Jimmy G wins, where it's a defensive struggle and he makes just enough plays. I'm happy Russell did it, but the reason they've been disappointing is because Russell's just not that good. He's a top 10 quarterback, top 12 quarterback who's old and stout and short and is no longer playing for a team that can run the ball successfully 30 times a game.
Yeah, it's funny. Until you said just kidding about Garoppolo, I'm here nodding my head with him. I'm like, yes, I don't. Yeah, no, I mean, I've never understood the whole Jimmy G love too. I just feel like as a quarterback, you want a guy that's kind of like nails and is going to play through different things. I feel like he doesn't really. I don't understand what it is that makes people love him.
I don't understand.
It's for his teammates. Like, I get why girls like him. I get why Barstool likes him or whatever. But
Billy, I understand your confusion. What is there about a guy who wins 70% of his professional starts that makes you a fan of him? What is it about a guy who's been to a Super Bowl that makes you a fan of him? I agree. What is there to like besides, the winning and the getting to the Super Bowl and the winning? No, I get it. No, I totally get it. I've never understood the hype.
Yeah, because all you want to do is win 70% of your games and then be like awful in the playoffs,
Yeah, awful in the playoffs. Like, goes on the road, beats Aaron Rodgers, goes on the road, beats good quarterbacks in their house, has been to a Super Bowl, has won 3, I don't know, he's run 3 or 4 road playoff games. Yeah, I mean, if that is a bad quarterback, sign me up for that bad quarterback any day of the week, fam.
Again, how many quarterbacks can we plug in to do what Jimmy G does?
I don't know. I just know that the quarterbacks that they have.
Not many or many?
I just know the quarterbacks they have plugged in have left Kyle Shanahan under 500.
Yeah, is that my fault that they plugged in CJ Beathard and Trey Lance?
I don't do hypotheticals. I do facts, depending upon the segment. And right now, I only do facts because it suits my argument. And Jimmy G is 70% a winner, and then Kyle Shanahan without him, less than 500. That's all I know is fact.
Josh Dodd maybe with the line of the show saying instead of letting Russ cook, it appears that Russ is cooked. I mean, God, how bad would that be for the Broncos if Russ is completely done after giving away that haul?
Again, this is where, fans of the show get used to us being hyperbolic. Russ is cooked. Let's take that into consideration. Russ is cooked as what? Like, Russ hasn't been to a Super Bowl in 8 years. Is Russ cooked as a top 5 quarterback? Is he cooked as an MVP candidate in which he's gotten 0 votes in his entire career? I mean, what is he cooked as? I think there's still a chance in the next 5 years he makes an All-Pro. I think he's going to make the playoffs most of the time that he's in the AFC West, which right now is a difficult division. So
I got to admit that I would have given up the entire Pats draft this year to get Russell Wilson, as bad as that looks or not. Like, I would have given up a complete haul to get him.
Look, when you look at the Ricky Williams trade, it is bad and disproportional. Unless, of course, you can't draft anybody with that. If you gave up our last 3 drafts for Russell Wilson, what is in those last 3 drafts that you would not trade for Russell Wilson? 18 picks or whatever it is. What wouldn't you trade in that 18 picks from Russell Wilson? I mean, what are we doing here? Yeah.
No, I agree.
Can't move anymore. Russ can't move anymore. This is where fans take it too far now. Is he still Russell Wilson? No. Can he move? Yeah. Can he still be Ryan Tannehill? Yeah. Can he still be Mitch Trubisky? Yeah. Mobily. Can he still throw better than any of those guys? Yeah.
Now, another team that's struggling on offense that we're typically expect to see good things offensively has been the Saints. They're turning the ball over a whole lot this year. A lot of penalties, protection issues. They actually fall to Carolina, who, Baker Mayfield hasn't been playing really well. But I mean, do you think the Saints, it's time for them to make a change at quarterback? What's your read on?
To whom? To whom?
Well, I mean, they could make a change to Andy Dalton.
No, they can't. And here's where your opinion on people flies right in your face, because you know who's a great quarterback for this team?
Is Jameis Winston? Is that?
Is Jimmy G. Would be an excellent. You pair him with Alvin
Oh,
Kamara.
yeah, he'd get that offense high flying.
No. You let Alvin not even high flying. You let Alvin Kamara run the ball 25 times a game, 30 times a game, move the ball, third down conversions, third and short, second and short, keep the chains moving, keep the clock moving, and then you get your pass rushers in a position where they need to be, and more importantly, you get your corners who are feast or famine in a pass-catching aggressive role. That's how they won their only Super Bowl in my lifetime. Tracy Porter, Chris McAllister off the effing street. That's not the Chris McAllister that played for the Ravens. That was a bum. That was an over-aggressive, physical guy at the end of his career who was super aggressive because they had Breeze. And when you say a team that you expect to have good offense, who? Who? The Saints? The Saints who without Drew Brees and Sean Payton have never been good? The Saints who have zero history of winning outside of one era, and that era is done now? They have about as good an offense as they should have. Their defense is underperforming. They are an 8-9 win team, and that is it. And that's on the high end, by the way.
Frank, did you not catch everyone predicting the Saints to make the Super Bowl? They were like the sexy pick to make that. They weren't mine, but I just feel like people expected good things out of the Saints this year. You're saying no one expected anything good out of the Saints this year?
I am saying that we have a show to do, so I am an egomaniac.
Give Aaron Brooks and Joe Horn some credit.
So I am an egomaniac who thinks I didn't think they were going to be good. I don't know why anybody else would think they were good. So independent of publications and pundits and things of that nature, anybody who said they were going to be good was a dummy. They are an 8 or 9 win team on the high end. And for the record, Aaron Brooks and Joe Horn were awesome. All right. Let's not forget Deuce McAllister, separate from the Chris McAllister I spoke about earlier. Deuce was a dog. Aaron Brooks, dog. That team was good, not good enough. But they were good. I love that team. I want to give them credit, but they had no winning pedigree.
Now, before we turn the page on the NFL, do you think the Packers Patriots game this week is going to be a bloodbath? What's your read on that game?
Aaron Rodgers and that entire franchise plays to their competition. They're going to be bad because we are bad. You're going to see a lot of punts that don't need to happen that they wouldn't do against the Bucks or Bills or things like that. You're going to see some drops and lack of focus. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has every bit of the lack of intangibles as any quarterback we've mentioned today. I mean, the guy, for being one of the physically most gifted quarterbacks we've ever seen, is kind of a bum. I don't have very high expectations for them against us. They're 1,000 times better than us. But I think that game will be something like 31-18 Packers in a game that is much like this week, deceptionally close for a certain amount of time.
I gotta agree with Dodd here. I just feel like
misleading because Brian Hoyer in those 12 starts has been very good between the 20s and very poor in the red zone. So if we just get down there and kick field goals with a guy who's got the NFL record for field goals inside the 50, you're looking at this all wrong. It's the wrong tone. I mean, it's just wrong.
The other big game to focus on this weekend is probably the Chiefs and the Bucks. Now, I gotta love the Bucks. They're like still practicing, like with this hurricane coming straight at them. They don't give a rip. You know that Brady's not going to care. But I think, obviously that's going to be an exciting game. It's cool to see what Mahomes is doing, given the fact that they've kind of changed that offense over. I'm going to assume that you think that the Chiefs have that game.
Chiefs have it. Look, missed me with all the baby goat stuff, but I mean, objectively, this is the best start to a career we've ever seen. So, missed me with the baby goat stuff, hit me with all the Mahomes hype because nobody's been better through 4 years. Like, what are we doing here?
4 years, 4 AFC championships.
He's a 300-pound man lining up in the neutral zone away from going to a Super Bowl nearly every year he's played. Like, he's got several double-digit come-from-behind playoff victories, which it typically takes quarterbacks entire years to accumulate. What are we doing here?
I agree with you. I agree. Mahomes is how anybody can take anything over Mahomes. I don't get it. But let's just talk about Judge real quick before we get into the Celtics mayhem. Is Judge going to beat the record? It's been, 4 or 5 games since he's hit a bomb. Are we going through an end of the season slump? It looked like he had a warning track blast like 4 or 5 games ago, psyched the cameraman out and pretty much everyone in the stadium. But, he's been fouling off balls and stuff like that. It just seems like he's maybe a little bit off the last couple games. How do you think he'll finish the season?
Well, this just in, hitting balls 400 feet is difficult when you do it over the course of 162 games. Like, newsflash. But, and I got to
Well, hey, when you're hitting a home run every other game in the second half of this year, it's just like I'm saying, when you hit a home run every other game for however long he's been doing, you go 4 or 5 games without one. It's kind of just like, well, crap, we're not used to this almost,
But outside of a 5-year span in the sports history, that's been every other great home run season. Bobby Abreu, you know what I mean? I don't want to keep going down the list, but that's the norm. It's the Sosa's, McGuire's, and Bonds. That's the aberration.
What Bobby Abreu year are you talking about?
He hit like 30 home runs. He won the home run derby with like 50, but he just petered out. He just petered out in the end of the year. I want to say it was Angels, not Phillies, but F off. I don't remember. I didn't expect a Bobby Abreu reference, but it was pertinent to my point.
I liked myself some Bobby Abreu.
No, but and in my bone to pick with you to get back to this, he's not setting any record. There is no 73 is the record.
Well, he could set the AL record, Frank.
Listen. It's not that I have steroid guys. It's that I don't believe in any era any majority of athletes have been clean. Whatever dirty was for their era, most of them were. The idea that all these guys were just like flag waving firefighters is absurd. Like, it's absolute I can't, like, it's silly. Like, it's cartoonish. Like, the idea that Mike Schmidt gets to come around once a year and talk about how his integrity was better than everybody else's. Yeah, I don't believe you. I just don't believe you weren't doing blow. You weren't doing hot dog. You weren't doing whatever it was that gained you a competitive advantage at the time. It's not just about steroids. It's about if you play pro sports and your window to make 40 years of income happens in about 2.5 years, you should be able to do whatever you need to. It should be regulated, sure, but you should be able to do whatever you need to do that. I'm not opposed to that. Like, no. It's not about roids. It's about, I want to see 600-foot home runs and 65-yard field goals. And, like, I want to see that. I'm sorry, call me selfish. I want to see somebody run faster than the speed of light. Like, no, give them all everything they need. Medicine's never been better. Regulate it so nobody's got an unfair advantage, but let them take whatever they need to.
And one guy that's certainly done whatever he needed to has been Ime Udoka. The last No, I mean, it's crazy. This stuff, I mean, after we got off the show last week, I mean, that news came out a little bit out. I think it came out at like 10:30 or something, that we still had to wait forever to even hear anything from the Celtics. I mean, quite frankly, I think it's pretty embarrassing how long it took for the Celtics to even say anything about this, to get out and like squash the, like you kind of just had everyone in Boston speculating as to what woman it could be, and coming out and just not making a statement, just thought that was a poor look on the franchise. But obviously we all know about Ime Udoka. What came out, I mean, was, kind of seeing someone, started a relationship or something with somebody in the organization. But, then obviously, I think there was kind of some unwanted conversations or whatever there may be. And, you've just kind of got this whole situation where over the past month, it's just been a pets our heads are falling off situation for the Celtics. You get all the way within 2 games of winning the finals, and then you have a couple great signings, and then obviously Bargnani gets the injury. He was going to be somebody that filled in really well on that bench. You've got Rob Williams that's going to be missing some time for an injury, and now you've got Ime Udoka, who, whether we want to say that coaching matters a lot or it doesn't, I feel like it was clearly tangible, his impact on this team last year, just as far as holding guys accountable, seeing someone that, being someone that guys liked and respected. And, with this just coming out, it's, it just opens a whole lot of things. You just wonder how well the Celtics are going to, how good they're going to play with all these distractions. It's just really unfortunate. Kind of Ime Udoka kind of had like the world by the balls. The Celtics were in a great position, and now you've got to start over with a coach, Joe Mazzulla, who really has no experience. What's your feel on everything, Frank, as all this news came out last week, how the Celtics have handled it, the mistake that Udoka's made, how are you kind of rationalizing through all this as it plays out?
I'm going to hit a couple things quickly, and then I'll give a longer overview. For the record, for the comment, Wade Boggs, let's not act like beer and fried chicken. That dude was also taking illegal substances, whether it was up his nose as opposed to steroids. That dude was not completely clean. Moving on. As far as Ime Udoka goes in the organization, again, it's something that is horrible to have happen this publicly. I just don't think in pro sports it should be that surprising. I don't think it's that embarrassing. I don't think it's that new. I think it happens in every. I think what happened with this is getting more press than Sarver. And what Sarver did is significantly worse. That guy's a scumbag. And adultery is bad. Like, the act is inexcusable. Like, whatever bad happens to him family-wise, he deserves. But again, as a coach of a pro team, is he doing anything worse than any NBA player is doing? No. So they should not be befuddled or stunned or shocked by this. Know that it's dumb. Joe Mazzulla, I like the idea that they brought in a young coach. I like the idea that they didn't try to force Brad Stevens back downstairs or something that we knew wouldn't work. The idea here is he can coddle the player's ego, completely opposite from what Ime Udoka did, and that will work for a year. That's the idea. I don't think it'll work for 2, especially as a 34-year-old is there. I don't think Spoelstra was a great coach early on for that big 3. I know he developed into one of the best coaches ever, who, by the way, had his own Ime Udoka scandal. So again, just so we're clear, it's not that I think it should be excused. It's just that I think it's a part of pro sports and happens all the time. Sorry for being realistic.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I do think this happens a lot. You hear the people that are close to different organizations that do this on a day-to-day basis. This pretty much happens all the time. I think then it's not really acceptable is just that, obviously there's something more going on than just adultery. If it was
They're
just
not in corporate America. Like when because pilots and dentists and people who travel tend to have a high rate of suicide. Yeah. So again, like, these are pro athletes. It's different. If they were working at Kmart and cheating on their wife, yes, I'm sorry, because it's no less of a sin. It's no less wrong. Morally, nothing changes. But in terms of expectations, it is wildly different for Joe six-pack beer drinker who works at Walmart to cheat on his wife versus pro athlete on the road 300 days a year. Like, I'm sorry. It's never more right or more wrong. It is always wrong. It is always the wrong decision morally. But in terms of expecting it, in terms of being caught off guard, in terms of how could this happen, not really in the venue that is pro sports, not really in that medium. I'm sorry.
I don't feel like a how could this happen thing. It's just more so like, how could you squander this opportunity? Are the Celtics not probably the most desirable head coaching position? Maybe if you want to say right, just with this talent that they've established and everything, are the Celtics not one of the most desirable positions to have right now?
Can I answer with a different question?
Sure.
Where was Ime on the Celtics list? Was he their number 1 head coaching candidate?
I think he was pretty high up there. Was he not? I think it was like Chauncey Billups and him. And
so it was about 4 guys. and he was about 4th. And then all of those guys signed elsewhere. So when you say, is this not one of the most desirable locations? This year, maybe, but prior to Ime taking the job, it was.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying is like right now, like rolling into this year.
But if you're him and you're willing to calculate these risks and things like that, he has to think, well, they weren't a desirable location before I got there. They're going to show loyalty to me. I'm gone for a year, much like Alex Cora, and after that, we'll be back.
Can this situation be saved though? Like after the year that will Ime Udoka coach another game for the Celtics?
I don't think he will.
I don't think so either.
I think he should. I don't think he will.
Because you got to think, if Mazzola does good, you got to think it's going to be pretty hard to bring back Udoka, right? If he does bad, go ahead.
If Mazzola does good, he's still 35. I mean, giving him Tatum and Brown and Smart at that age, I just think is a terrible idea. Again, a season right after you've been held super accountable and been to the finals with some disappointment, I think there's something to be said for a coddler, a positive reinforcement guy after that negative reinforcement guy. I think there's something to be said for that. And I think turning that back around into Ime could be good. But in terms of giving it to a 34, 35-year-old long-term, these guys in particular, not the Clippers roster, not the Lakers roster, this roster, no. No, Tatum is not mature enough, has not developed the intangibles, is not a leader yet. Jaylen Brown is still not developed and is still mercurial AF, as the kids say. Marcus Smart has never, ever accepted his role, and I do not expect a 35-year-old non-former player to get the best out of these guys. I think it can happen as a change of pace to what they dealt with last year. I don't think there's any chance of long-term success right now. Give him another 6 years as an assistant coach, I think he'll be great, like Nick Nurse. But no,
do you find it sad at all at like how hard they're trying to appease Jason Tatum? Like I can't figure out how many, like what accolades Joe Mazzulla has or what he has that gave him the position other than Tatum really likes him. Like they basically jumped over Damon Stoudemire, who's been a bench coach, who's been in the NBA, who has like been biding his time. I mean, Joe Mazzulla has never even sat courtside at one of these games yet, and they're elevating him for seemingly just because Tatum likes him. Can you see? Do you see why Mazzulla got this role aside from Tatum liking him?
No, but let me answer that again with more questions. Who are the two richest owners in the NBA?
Mark Cuban.
He's up there. He's top 3. It's basically the Nets who will sell their soul for the players, and I don't think that's a bad idea. And Ballmer, I'm pretty sure Irving's uncle is part owner of the Nets, and Kawhi Leonard's uncle is a member of the front office of the Clippers. And I don't think either one of those is a bad decision. So to answer your question with more questions, I don't care if Jason Tatum's cousin, brother Dookie, is the head coach of the Boston Celtics. No, I don't think it's a bad thing that we are cowtailing to him. Why wouldn't you cowtail to the player in that league?
I would cowtail to the player in that league, but when they have like zero experience, I just wonder, I want somebody that my guys like that has the resume as well, I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't want Jim Caldwell for 4 years, but I want him the year after Tony Dungy retires. He's been here. Peyton likes him. It won't upset the apple cart. We have time to worry about the future. I want this right now.
I just wonder how both sides could come to the table after this, because it's like, as Ime Udoka, you're kind of saying like, after suspending me for the year and everything, like it's just, I wonder what it would take for both sides to come back. I mean, excuse me, do you see a scenario where they come back and say, hey, like, we need each other?
The only way I see him coming back, because I said the answer to that question is no. The only way I see Ime coming back is if we're close. Is if we're knocking on the door like we were this year, and we know Ime is the only way to get back there. Because as I've already said, Mazzulla over the course of 2 years is not going to get it done. Nobody that age with a team of non-veterans is going to get there.
Yep. Yeah. mean, it's so unfortunate because you feel like Ime is the guy for the job. You know what I mean? It's almost like, the
But
Celtics are doing that thing that, like the Alex
hasn't-
Cora thing, where it's like, we are upset at you, but you're too good for us to, like, let us figure this out. Like, we can't just actually let go of you at this moment. But
Look, again, it's all about the arena, the medium you're in. I just don't think you can play holier than thou in pro sports.
I agree.
You're going to need to have some little column A, little column B. I just think it's a bad decision to get rid of him for some moral reason where half his players have probably done that. Like if it's Urban Meyer and it wasn't working anyway, then yeah, you use the moral obligation to oust him out of there. But if he had been 10-1 at the time, do you think that video would have hurt his career? Not one bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know.
I'm sorry, I've been depressing all show. It's not that I want to be bleak. It's just that I'm a realist about things. Like, I'm sorry.
Well, Sylvia said you were depressing, Frank.
But again, you just got 25 years of some of the most uplifting sports teams ever. You got to watch all 4 major sports teams win a ring. I think the Revolution went to 2 MLS Cups, even though they never won one. I mean, you got success. The Cannon or Cannonballs, whatever our lacrosse team, has had a measure of success.
The Cannonballs.
Whatever. Has had a measure
of big lacrosse fan, huh, Frank?
No, but my point is, we were a good fan base when we were losers, and we should get ready for that again. Because I think that's more realistic. I think that's coming.
Well, hey, we appreciate our fan base here for tuning in this episode. We'll just keep letting this NFL. It's been a great NFL season, and hopefully we've got a great weekend coming up here. Pats versus Green Bay. We'll see if anything comes out more about the Celtics. We've got the Aaron Judge home run race. I know Frank considers that to be the real record. So we'll see if he can set that. But appreciate everybody for tuning in. Josh, thanks for all your involvement as well. Thanks for the compliments. And we'll catch everybody next week. Same time, same place. We'll see you then.